Range Rover Evoque may have only been around for a short time, but with almost 150 awards under its belt, it's probably the most overachieving 2-year-old you've ever met. And with looks like this, probably the prettiest too. So what do you do to celebrate a car that's done so much for the Range Rover brand? Give it some updates, take it on a road trip. And not just any road trip. We were invited to join Land Rover's mini expedition, starting at Livingstone in Zambia, then winding our way west to a tiny corner of the country where Namibia, Zambia, Botswana and Zimbabwe all meet. From there, it would be across the Zambezi and into Botswana. Along the way, we'd have the chance to sample the true capability of the baby Range Rover, taking it over some tricky dirt tracks, through cyclone-soaked bush and across long open stretches of tar, all while keeping it stylish behind the wheel. Normally when we talk about styling updates, we talk about new lights, new bumpers, front and rear, maybe some extra body colours or some new wheels. For the Evoque, Range Rover haven't gone quite that far, but with a package that looks this good, why would you want to bother? But they haven't entirely left it untouched. In fact, they've focused on one particular area. Well, that's being generous. It's more like one particular part, the side mirrors, which have been made smaller. The rest remains as aggressively gorgeous as ever, with slivers for headlights and a minimal grille fronting the obvious wedge profile, all of it giving you the impression that this car was built for stylish appeal and drivability first, everything else second. Whether you're taking it in from the front by day or following it at night, the Evoque showcases fantastic appeal for any car, let alone an SUV. The interior updates include nothing that you'd notice straight away, but it's still got first-class layout and top spec, and a typical Range Rover ambiance. What there is, though, is a new navigation system that includes some world firsts. It's the first factory-fitted nav system that has detailed information for 22 African countries, and it also features Tracks for Africa info, which covers dirt roads and routes that aren't part of the regular network. Like the exterior, the rest of the interior remains untouched, offering Range Rover quality layout and finishes, which are certainly more in keeping with this car's city lifestyle. It's functional and at the same time undoubtedly upmarket, and it's comfortable no matter where you take it. Now for a history lesson. Back in the 80s, for those of you that remember, there was a bit of a standoff between the nations of the East and the West, and there just didn't seem to be an end to the amount of nuclear weapons that they would make. Now that that war is over, it seems it's been taken up by the motor manufacturers, but this time they're using gears. Used to be that 6 gears was fine, then they needed 7, now there's 8, and in the Evoque, Range Rover have fitted a 9-speed gearbox. Yes, that's 9 forward gears, and it's one of the first cars in the world to have such a thing. Range Rover claims that it has response times that are imperceptibly quick, and all those extra cogs will help the Evoque deliver the perfect drive in any situation, as well as help with towing. Although I doubt any Range Rover owners even know what a Fender trailer is, let alone own one. That said, the real advantage for me of a 9-speed gearbox isn't the fact that it's got a lower CO2 count or is lighter and that all makes it more efficient. It's the fact that out of those 9 gears, 4 of them are overdrive gears, and that means you can cruise at decent speed at really low revs, and that makes for a quiet ride, which gives you just an extra touch of Range Rover refinement. Our test car was powered by the 2-litre turbo petrol with 177 kilowatts and 340 newton meters. It's a good power unit that works well with its 9 gears, although I suppose unsurprisingly it does sometimes take a moment to gather itself together when you want a burst of overtaking power. The Evoque wears the entry-level label in its family, and even though it is as luxurious and as stylish as the others, it's just that little bit less snob-worthy, that little bit less exclusive. And also, mechanically speaking, it's just a little bit less capable than the others. But that doesn't mean it's scared to take on some dirt. In fact, it'll even take on a bit of Africa. Inevitably, as it does on this part of the planet, the tar ran out, and the Evoque was forced to put its 20-inch wheels onto some dirt and through some mud. And you know what? Despite being far removed from the surroundings in which you might be accustomed to seeing it, it did fine. In fact, it did more than fine. The baby of the family took on whatever arrived in its way and just carried on going. Some routes we drove were unpredictable thanks to more rain falling in the area over the last few weeks than there'd been in the last 30 years, and still, the Range Rover bred for the city managed it all with ease. It's not fitted with a low-range gear set, but it does have terrain response, which helps things by managing throttle and braking input as well as gearing. After half a day bashing our way across Zambia, we arrived at the border crossing, where the corners of 4 countries touch and a mighty river stood in our way. We loaded up the fleet of Evoques onto a ferry, then cast off and said goodbye to Zambia. In terms of a model update, the changes to the Range Rover Evoque aren't exactly major. In fact, it's just about making the package that little bit more efficient. But our story isn't quite over yet, because once we're across the Zambezi River and into Botswana, we get our hands on the new Land Rover Discovery 4, and we'll bring you that story next week.
The 2-litre petrol turbo delivers decent performance, ensuring an easy drive whether you're on tar or brave enough to take it off the road. The Evoque now boasts an advanced 9-speed gearbox while still managing to be stylish and luxurious. Pity no Evoque owner will ever experience how truly capable their car is, though.